Would like to thank Mr. Scott Bennett for coming and Attorney Williams, or I'm sorry, Attorney Wheeler. And I guess I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you all. I think most of you know me. I'm Jim Wheeler, but and town attorney with the hat that I have on today. But first of all, I need to tell you, Mr. Rosenhoff apologizes that he couldn't be here. I don't know if you've been made aware, but he had a death in the family yesterday, and just could not be here tonight. So he apologized for that. But he did ask me to come in this place and to present to you all what we've come up with as an offer. The BMA has not met, but they have all been talked to individually. So he will recommend this if you all are inclined to have him do that, and he feels confident that the board will support this general proposition. There would be some details in this that would need to be worked out probably between Mr. Boyd and Mr. Rosenhoff, perhaps with the help of the attorneys. At the next stage would probably be some sort of a document for you all to look at, the BMA to look at and make any adjustments and then finalize. But we determined it was a little hard to try to put all those details into a proposal. We needed to kind of get a framework and then let them kind of come back to you all with something that the two of them can agree would probably work for both parties. Of course, the most important part of that is probably the price, and so that is what we've been looking at. I think you all have been provided with information. My understanding is from the appraisal that the town obtained, we are prepared to, he's prepared to recommend to offer the value that was placed on it. That value assumes that the best, and the appraiser felt the best use of the property was just as raw land. So he estimates $500,000 for removing the building, but we have offered it at that top price without removing the building. The town feels like we're in a unique position to utilize that building, whereas most other developers we feel like probably would not. And I think we experienced that with the Boones Creek school property. And that's one of the reasons that the town took an interest in this. So, I know I watched your all's last meeting, and I know there were questions raised about the part of the agreement, the local agreement, that deals with selling it to a tax-paying entity. The reason that that's not a problem from the town's perspective is probably applies to the county too. At least it does from my perspective as a county commissioner. If the town is going to expand, they are not going to be able to do it where they are now. Now, even this project would still involve an expansion at Town Hall, because if public safety stays there, they've got to expand a bay for an ambulance, and EMS and the county are very interested in putting an ambulance at that location. So there's going to be some expansion there, but they do not have room to expand the way the offices need to. And there's been talk of an expansion for the fire bay for a long time, years. The office space has become a problem over the last 2 to 3 years, and it's really become a significant problem at this point. So the BMA is going to have to take action in the next year or 2 years. We've had discussions over the last year about talking to the post office about the possibility of them moving. We have dropped that because we've watched what happened in Johnson City. It's taken them 5 years to even get an agreement, and it may be 5 more before they move. We can't wait that long. So they've dropped that as even a possibility, and are now looking at, we're going to have to build somewhere else. We don't have land to do that, so we're going to have to buy land. If the town buys land, that land comes off the tax rolls. So this is really for them just to trade. Instead of taking somewhere else and taking it off the tax rolls, this would just stay off the tax rolls. As a county commissioner and budget committee member, I look at it the same way. If they buy a property somewhere else in town, it's coming off the tax rolls just like this would stay off the tax rolls. So I don't see that as a big impediment here. Any way we go with this, the 3 parties have to agree. So the county would be involved, but of course we felt like we got to come to terms with you all first, and then talk to the county. So the so that, as you know from having this information, that the price would be 1.8 million. The town is proposing, because we're prepared to do this, to pay that at 1.3 at closing, and then 500,000 paid 5 years from the date of closing. We do understand some of the terms you all have talked among yourselves about, and maybe a little bit with either our board members or Mr. Rosenau. As far as access, we think that we certainly would understand that you need bus access across that drive that goes all the way out to 11E or over to Forest, but you need bus access to, or access to your garage. We would ask that you consider, we have a strong interest. The reason the town got, not the only reason, but the primary reason that the town had been seeking to have the school moved off of 11E for as long as I've been town attorney, 24 years. We've been talking about how could that happen, was to get the school zone off of 11E. So we would like to say that the access for the elementary school, in case, you know, it might not be this board, but in the future, if some other board decides that they're going to have alternative school there or any other program there with kids, including a county-owned or county-funded daycare, anything like that, we want to be careful that we don't get in a situation where we'd have that school zone back on 11E. It would defeat that major purpose for the town. So we would like the access for that to continue to be what we have in the interlocal agreement, which would be that we would jointly, the town, the county obviously would be doing most of this, put the road in that would go from the elementary school over to the property where Powell's is, around Powell's and out Chuck's Alley. Which is the name of that street there. But that is something that certainly what, you know, we think those kind of details, maybe two managers, if you will, would be able to sort of work together and talk through. And you all, of course, put input into that, and the board may not too. And especially with the amount of time I've had to try to get up to speed and do this today, I'm not pushing that anything's final that I'm saying, because I'm going on very little information. I had about a 5-minute call today, was all that I was able to talk to Mr. Rosenau. The one thing, the appraisal diagram showed the sort of split that entrance that goes all the way out to 11E, and we would want to make sure that we were requiring the entire entrance out to 11E. That in the town's initial planning, there's no architect involved or anything like that, but in their initial planning, they would dress that entrance up considerably and then probably narrow it down just a little bit, not to any degree that would affect the bus access if that ended up being out to there rather than Forest, but that would be dressed up, and probably some green space would go in where some of the paving is now. So that is somewhat important, and something that was different we felt like we needed to bring up. Certainly comfortable with the idea of some transitional space. The only thing I didn't hear talked about at your last meeting is we probably want to come up, and maybe this is another one that the two principals could discuss and then get back with you all for input, but would be some sort of time frame on that. What makes sense is a reasonable time frame for that, which could be somewhat lengthy because it may take you all a while. Of course, we understand that, to settle on your plan and get it moving on what you're going to do in the elementary school building. And then the last piece is really separate, but we thought it made sense, and I actually talked to Mr. Boyd just a few minutes this afternoon about this, is that at the same time we're doing this, to talk about our situation with the track. I think this marries with the idea that the parking would stay public around the track area. And to me, when I looked at that myself the other night, I was kind of scratching my head about, well, if all that parking gets sold, how's that park ever going to really get used? So this would keep that as not a problem, because it would all stay public. But it might be time to go ahead and start talking about, okay, what are we going to do with that track? You all need that, of course, until Tiger Park's finished, because you're actually utilizing it significantly right now. And we, of course, wouldn't interfere with that. At some point, though, when that's done, if it makes sense, we would suggest that the town take over the maintaining of that. And we have an interest in that going ahead and being deeded to the town at that point, because we can get grants for parks that the county can't get, or you all can't get. And we do have some interest in utilizing that as the trailhead to get some trail grants that will involve a lot more than just, there's trail money coming that will link us with Johnson City, but we need to branch out from that trail and go out into the county in some places. That's the longer term plan. To be able to access those grants, we would like to build a trailhead there, which would mean doesn't necessarily mean building much of anything, but the idea would be you probably would put a pavilion in there at some point somewhere. And what that'll do is let that really become a park that can be utilized. It'll be on the town trail system. It'll be connected to the Tweetsie Trail system. And it would allow the town to access some grants where we could get some of the other parts of the county connected into. Those are the main points that I wanted to, and most of those are just, the tip of the iceberg as far as details, and we understand that. We felt like those were different enough that we ought to talk about them tonight and get those out in front of you. But anything I'm saying tonight, again, is subject to Mr. Boyd and Mr. Rosenhoff talking through the details of an agreement, and having Mr. Bennett and I put it on paper to come back to you. So that's sort of where the town is right now. If the town will move, I know you all expressed some interest in them getting back to you. They will do that. If it's in this type of scenario where it's more informal, where we haven't actually had them meet and vote on something, and when we're ready for that, certainly we'll have them meet and vote. And if they need to do a call meeting, they can do that.
Questions?
Well, I was just a little, something you'd mentioned about, we had discussed at one point, maybe the area back there at the old elementary school to maybe be remodeled to put an alternative school, maybe bring that in. I mean, we may have students at that time. I mean, is that something that?
It's not a problem with us at all, and
Okay.
It would just be that's why we would want to have that access built for the school building to access 11E through Chuck's Alley.
Okay.
So we don't ever get in a situation where if we have a direct connection
All right.
on governmental property, we probably would have to put a school zone there, and we don't want to do
You
that.
want to avoid that,
Yeah.
right?
Mr. Weiner?
Scott, do you have an opinion on this at all?
With regard to what aspect? Enough money?
No, I mean, as far as the agreement, that we kind of put forth last time when we done the,
With the interlocal agreement with the county so that's a good question. And my thought on that, my thought on that is that was intended to be a statement of what the three governments wanted to do to benefit the community at that point in time. We also recognized in that document that circumstances might change because we have a way to amend it. But here's the other piece that I noticed. Like there's part in here that talks about what we do with the proceeds of any sale. And one of the things that we put in there was, we laid out the proceeds would go here and then go there, but we put in, provided the Board of Education, with the approval of the County Commission, may allocate these funds to other school purposes as exigent circumstances may arise. Meaning, we recognized when we did this that circumstances might change. Here, we have a circumstance that changed. One of our business partners, the town, said, we want this back on the tax rolls. They're now saying, kind of works for us to keep it off the tax rolls if we can use it. So that's a change in circumstance where our business partner has come to us and said, what do you think about this? I don't have any problem changing a contract where the circumstances surrounding the contract have changed. Now, we got one vote on the county commission. I'm comfortably certain that as an attorney and as an elected official, he would not have discussed this with his with his colleagues on the county commission yet, because that would have been wrong.
That's right.
But, you know, what ends up happening down the road remains to be seen. I don't suspect that the commission would look at this very much differently.
Yeah.
What this board has to decide is, frankly, is it good for Washington County and the kids who go to your schools? That's what you gotta decide. You know, from my perspective, if you think that the property is worth this amount of money, explore this. From my perspective, buildings that aren't being used deteriorate very, very, very quickly. And if you want to demolish a school building that's been vacant for a very long time, that's very expensive. And that will reduce the amount of recovery off of any sale. So the only thing I would say is, why not put all the money on the table now? But at this point, you're now asking me policy details, mechanical details about how we fix this. I'm not worried about that. That's what we do all the time.
Well, Scott, I've got one question.
Yes, sir.
If we was to agree tonight, and when Mr. Wheeler goes back to the county commission and they say no, even though it's a verbal agreement, we're still not bound, are they still bound to that or no?
Well, so this is a three-way agreement.
Right,
So, and what I heard the town say through their attorney is that this offer is contingent on the county
okay.
agreeing with it. That would be true even if.
That's true.
I just wanna make sure
Yeah,
publicly that was.
So it's a three-way agreement. If the county says, you know, we don't really see this as benefiting us, it's dead in the water. So three parties have to agree to this.
Regardless of what we do tonight.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Fleener?
I'd like to make a motion that we go into agreement for the $1.8 million with the town of Jonesboro. And I'd like to lay out some, you know, there was some on the board that wanted an appraisal. We got an appraisal by a well-known, well-respected appraiser. They're all giving us exactly what it appraised for. And I mean, I keep going back to like Jonesboro Elementary, the one we built and one we're all proud of, would not have happened if the town of Jonesboro wouldn't have come up and provided the funding and really the idea of how we built it. So I would like to keep them partners in this endeavor. And of course, all the stipulations that we said before, I'd like those details to be worked out with Mr. Boyd and the town administrator. But I would like to see us, you know, keep use of it, keep, you know, use the park, or at least see the park being used as of, you know, what it is for now. And if we want to build a trailhead to it or whatever, that'd be fine. But just really like to see that community keep using that park. And of course, using the access to go in is very important for us. I'd like to make a motion, we go into agreement with $1.8 million from the town of Jonesboro.
Can you go over some of those stipulations again?
Yeah,
Well-
let me get a second
got it.
first, if okay? We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Discussion.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Do you mind going over some of those?
Using the track, using the, you know, the two intersections off Forest Drive and off 11E, the road frontage coming in, or at least using the right of way. They're going to upkeep that and everything, but they're going to let us use it. And then using the building itself, if we do transfer, you know, and move some offices or whatever to the elementary school, like had been talked, I mean, I'd like to see us take this $1.8 million and try to finish up, you know, personally, change that elementary school to where we could use it and build it up to where we need it and it functions for us, and maybe do away with the Midway property like we've already discussed, and maybe some other buildings or whatever, but that's just my hope.
I thought we'd put something on there too, whereas if it was sold.
Yeah, if it was sold, you know, they would be, you know, they'd have to come back to us and we'd listen to the profit or whatever, but yeah.
Did we put a timeline on that?
I think we said 10 years.
10 years,
And then-
if it's sold to a
Mhm.
private.
And I'd like those details. I mean, honestly, 10 years is forever. I mean, you know, you've been on here 8 years and getting in and walking away, but I mean, you know, 10 years between the government is a law.
I don't think that's a problem, because as you know, for this building, we tend to use them a long time in government, that wouldn't be a problem.
Mr. Featherstone?
If it is sold to them, and we agree $1.8 million, can any of that money be used to build the vestibules of the K-8 schools?
Yeah, yes, sir. So as a matter of fact, the part of the agreement that I just read, it talked about that the proceeds from these sales would offset the purchase of furnishings at the school, fund the 5-year capital improvement plan, provided that the board may allocate these funds with the approval of the county commission to other school purposes as exigent circumstances may arise. I think security upgrades right now, that's one of those exigent circumstances, because security is a priority. The anticipated cost of that spend went way up, higher than you were expecting. I think that's squarely within the intended purpose of this. And when Mr. Wheeler and I were talking beforehand, I remembered that rather than these funds going to reimburse the dedicated education, the capital fund at the county, we agreed that they would go into our fund balance. So it's our money, goes into our fund balance. We just said we would use it to help the school or capital projects, but these security upgrades are capital projects. So I think absolutely we can do it for this purpose. Mr. Chairman, may I ask a clarifying question?
Yes.
Do we have a motion for 1.8? Mr. Wheeler had done a structure payment of 1.5.
1.3.
1.3. See, I'm trying to squeeze them. Y'all are letting me.
Yeah.
1.3 at closing with the balance to be paid later. Was your
I'm
motion?
accepting that. I mean,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
I didn't know if you were
Yeah.
asking for cash or.
No, I would be in favor to taking that 1.3 and the 5 million over, what would it say, 5 years from date of purchase?
5 years, and not over 5 years, but at 5 years.
At 5 years, yep. I'd be in favor for that.
Now, continuing on, my main priority is to get the safety in the buildings, and I know that's another day to discuss what we do with the money, but I'm not looking forward to go improve something or in Jonesboro Elementary or anything. I want the money to go that way. So if I voted yes, that is the reason why I'm voting yes, that that money could go to security and safety.
Mr.
Jim, I went up there last night and I walked that area. And I took the first parking lot next to the school. I counted that. And I walked all the way to the middle of the entrance where we come in off 11E. I walked down and I walked back. I stepped it. I come up with about 7 acres. I didn't miss it by much. I may have missed it a little bit, but I didn't miss it by much. Your agreement says there's 5 acres up there. There's more than 5 acres. I'm standing here listening to you tell us that the plan is that you're probably gonna possibility tear the building down. I cannot sit here and support voting to sell 7 acres, 6.5 acres of property on 11E for 1.8. I mean, I just can't support it because at 500,000 an acre, you know, that's 3 million plus. And I'm sitting here listening, knowing what we've got to spend, you know, the vegetables, the heat and air system at Daniel Boone. We're not getting enough money. That's my opinion. I'm one vote, so.
I think
No, go ahead, I'm sorry.
the town has to look at it as far as the value of the property,
understand.
not what is needed for the projects. But I do understand that as a county commissioner, but from the town standpoint. So that's why after you all talked about it, an appraisal, you know, they went and got an appraisal. The appraised value, you know, from that is not 3 million. And you've got to take into account, even if somebody wanted to pay you 1.8, if they're not gonna use that building, we're likely to be the ones paying for the building.
They're the ones gonna be taking the building down if they don't want that building.
Possibly.
Yeah, if they want
It
to
didn't happen that way at Boones Creek, though. You know, that.
No, but we made money after we tore the
But the
building down.
building wasn't worth
Well,
We
and-
did.
And you might do that here, or you may come out.
Well, when they're
with less than
selling,
this.
when they sell property right there where they're putting the new Wendy's, there's 450,000 for an acre right there. Annette, what was the bank?
800.
800,000 where the bank went? I'm just,
Dollar General was 4,000. I mean, yeah, 400,000.
so I just can't, I
Well, of
mean,
course, this deal would not be final until it comes back to you all. By that time, there will have to be a survey. So you will know how correct you were on stepping it off or where we are. But he's measured this using the same
well,
types of measurements that you would use if you went on the Google Earth or if you went on the property data homepage, and is suggesting that we're talking about 5 acres. Now, I agree, he says approximate, and I agree, it may be more than that. This would give us a framework to go and get something put down on paper and get you more details, like, I think there would have to be a survey done. I'm gonna suggest while we're doing that we also survey the track area and get things moving on both these projects. But bottom line is, you all would not be something you're bound to until we get you a final agreement that would show that. And then there wouldn't be any issue about how many acres we're talking about.
well,
Mr. Hammonds?
I was just gonna ask if we could get clarification on the acreage, but, where did you hear the intent, you all are not intending to tear the building down, correct? Or-
No.
I
There
thought
may
you
be,
just said
Because I've
that
actually
there's a
been calling
possibility
for
that you may
keeping
end
the
up
building.
taking the building down.
no, sir. You may misheard that, but I did not say that, because
I
The-
think
the
in the
whole-
appraisal, they priced it both ways.
Yeah, they did at 1.2 with the building down.
Right.
When we took the
No.
building down at Boones Creek, it made more money. Cause
I
we
think-
got more money out of Boones Creek when we took the building down. We paid $365,000 to take the building down, and we sold it for 1 point what? Or 2 million. It was 2 million. So you take the closing costs away, you take the 306, and we still got more for it than what we actually is getting for it.
And that's actually what the appraisal's saying. It's saying that it's 1.275 with the building.
Yeah,
It is 1.8 if you tore the building down. So he is saying you would make more. We are saying we're willing to pay what he says the value is if you take the building down without you all having to take the building down.
well,
Because we would like to preserve the building. You know, the town of Jonesboro is all about preservation, and we see this as an opportunity to preserve that building and not have it torn down. So, and we're one of the, we think we're probably one of the only people, a governmental entity is about the only thing that would actually be able to use that building the way it sits right now.
Did that answer your, Mr. Hammonds?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Mr.
So-
Bennett?
I would like to have clarification on exactly what you're asking for, because I have like tons of documents here in front of me, and we've talked about 7 acres and this many acres and that many acres, and it looks like it's 3.75 acres is what we're talking about. Is that,
And I believe it's approximately 5 acres according to our,
Yeah, the appraiser indicated 5. I just used the tool on the Tennessee Property Viewer and measured, just to give you a
so
visual.
we're now saying
I'm
this,
not a surveyor, I'm not an expert, I
Right,
just used
but
the
this is-
digital tool.
This is
so
what
this, they're saying this is 5 acres here. What
That's
we're
what they
having in
have
front of us is
indicated in
5
the
acres.
limited appraisal, that's.
And then the second thing I wanted to ask is, I do not have knowledge of who the appraiser was, and evidently they're reputable, and I'd like to know who they are.
that's fine. It is,
Rex Garrison.
Rex Garrison.
Yeah, and as in talking with Mr. Wheeler, I didn't feel as I had permission on the document, it said for client only. He did, he indicated that would have been fine, but what I shared with you was the content of it. I didn't share all the details, but that's.
And just a little bit about Mr. Garrison, I've been in the commercial world for 21 years, and Mr. Garrison has appraised several of my buildings, so he is very reputable, and he's state certified too. Mr.
I think maybe we could make this contingent on approval of, or agreement on the boundaries and the acreage. So I would think, this is just an idea, but it's going to include the road and the parking lot, and they already have
the football field in that area, and then I think there was a little behind it to meet up with Shamrock Road. So, but then we would maintain the 5 acres, the tracks between it and Bojangles down that way. But I guess the property we're looking at, and then we would maintain the use of the drive-through to the bus route or bus garage, and then off Forest Drive, maintain the use of that. And there would be public parking back there for everybody and for the park and everything. But I think maybe we could make it contingent on that we agree to the boundary that are drawn up on this. So might be a smart thing to do, because I see what you're saying, you don't know exactly. We just
Well,
need to mark
I
it
mean,
up and see.
Are we trying to take buses behind Bojangles, and is that what he's saying? We'd have to take our buses behind Bojangles and Pals to get out at the,
If you're gonna go that direction, otherwise they would go out on the Forest and then onto 11E or back to Main Street.
okay, because it's a pain trying to get across right there with
Make a left.
Bojangles, yeah.
Right.
That's only if you
Especially
have
with
a
the
school
bus and
zone.
But don't we take our
No.
buses down Forest now?
Yes,
When
we do. I mean,
to the
some
red light?
go all the way and then turn right on 11E now, but many of them go out onto Forest and to that red light so they can turn left,
Right.
and then others go
Because you
back
can't
towards-
turn left coming out.
When they're, but most of our buses, our bus drivers, in most cases, maintain their buses either at their residence or in another location, for example, another school parking lot. The buses aren't maintained or stored at the bus garage area, the transportation area, 100%. They're not returned every evening. Just in the summer when they're doing, summer repairs and maintenance.
Okay, Mr. Hammond?
We talked about school zones, but Midway and Asbury currently are not at school zone, are they? We don't
No.
have anything.
Asbury does, the city of, Johnson City. It does have a small school zone going through there during that period. But it's because it's right on that main road.
I didn't know because they had optional hours for students.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty flexible. And then plus you got the elementary school down the road on that road, the Johnson City
Well, that's
Elementary
true.
School. So, and there's already somewhat of a school zone all the way, from that point through. But Midway does not, it's not a school zone, it's administrative, supplementary kind of building
I mean, even when it
services.
was a school or alternative.
Yeah, I did not, I don't think it had a school zone because it was not
Okay,
a traditional.
any more questions?
I want to make a statement.
Uh-huh.
The people that put me here at this table, in our community, my responsibility is to them, the children, the parents, the teachers. And to sell this property or any other property is to try to get the top dollar that we can get. Because what I'm thinking about is the security, such as Mr. Huddlestone talked about. This money's not going to my house. This money's going into the school board fund to where we can do other projects to enhance people's school career and make finer adults. It's a sore subject, but I'm gonna mention it. We got cut 50% of our sales tax money, and we're looking for replacement. So I'm not gonna vote for 1.8 million.
Okay. Anybody else? Let's vote, Mr. Boyd, please.
Okay. Appreciate your patience, but I have lunch voting.
I ain't got that.
I've got the motion, but I haven't got
You
the.
have to scroll down on it.
Oh,
You gonna vote again?
Yeah, please.
Oh, sorry. I just-
May not even be on the right
there it
area.
is, I'm sorry.
It's only one item in the called meeting. There was 2 meetings listed on the calendar. This is the called meeting.
I ain't got
Okay, we'll do roll call vote. I did receive 1 vote from Mr. Buchanan.
I voted twice.
Did you get mine?
And I got Mr. Walters' vote. I'm not, and then it looks like I've got,
Has everybody voted?
No.
I have just the motion.
You
If
have
you
to
scroll
scroll.
down, it'll come up. That's what I was saying.
Scroll down.
It's a
on
long
the
motion, so you have
I
to
ain't
scroll.
got nothing.
yeah, sorry, I tried to capture everything.
You got the motion, Keith?
I ain't got nothing, no vote, no nothing.
Are you connected to the internet?
You're
Because I
not
wasn't
on the
connected.
right meeting.
I don't think I am either.
Meeting in
Called meeting
27.
for today.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
that's
there's
one's
meeting.
One's a workshop and one's a called meeting.
And so we have to go to the
Let's
meeting.
just do a vote, roll call.
I voted.
Did you find it?
Yeah, I found it. Thank you.
Did you see that? Well, I guess you did. You had to.
I took down the workshop, is what I did. That's what I needed to click on.
That's the full motion, you have to scroll down to the bottom. Sorry.
I don't know.
Yeah, you gotta get the window.
Operate this thing.
There you go. Now you can put your mouse wherever you want to vote.
All right, how do I scroll down on this? Oh, I see.
Did you find it, Greg?
Did you get it? No, he ain't got it either.
Okay, here quick.
You're on the, he said I was on the wrong meeting, so.
Yeah, it's, trying to get that one, it's not letting me.
Would you like me to log your vote?
Sure.
Your vote?
No.
Everyone cast their vote? Mr. Hammond did it by voice. I've entered no for Mr. Hammond. Should come up. Appears the motion fails, 5 noes, 6 noes, and 3 yeses.
Okay. Ms. Ware, thank you for coming. Appreciate it very much. Meeting adjourned. I think, Mary Beth, do you want to stay or no?
I believe I'm gonna.
Well, thank you again for your service and your time
Thank you.
today.
Appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
You wanna stick around?